What is up, guys? Dzeeff here, and today is going to be the first in a couple videos that I'm going to make about the new speed dueling. We're going to open the other starter deck as well, and in today's video we're opening starter decks Duelists of Tomorrow. Now what's interesting about speed dueling, besides the fact that the rule set is the same thing as Duel Links except it's in real life now, is that these starter decks actually come with 3 different decks, which is kind of crazy because we've seen starter decks before that come with like 2, and that's kind of uncommon for Yu-Gi-Oh! As is, but because these are only 20 card decks, Konami decided to put 3 in one box. Now the good news is that actually the 2 best characters and 2 best skills in this game both come in this one, which is why I'm talking about this one first. So the Kaiba skill and the Mei skill, or the Mai skill I should say, are both very powerful and easily make up the 2 best decks of this format. I have played a little bit of this format at a YCS, and also I have talked to some people that have played the format, and it's pretty much decided upon which the 2 best skills are, so we're going to talk about those in today's video. Keep in mind, at the time of filming this video, I do not know what the side events are going to look like for this format. I know at the last YCS, because these hadn't been released yet, Konami wasn't actually letting you build your own deck. You got to just borrow their deck. So I don't know if the side event format for speed dueling at YCS Chicago will be that you just buy your own cards and then make your own decks, or if Konami just gives you a deck to play with. The thing that remains though is that the 2 best decks still stay the 2 best decks. It's just that I think the Kaiba one is better if they don't let you build your deck, and the My Valentine one is better if they do let you build your deck. So that's something to keep in mind, but we'll kind of talk about those as we go along here. So yeah, if you don't know, this is basically like Konami's new thing. They haven't really announced, like they said that they're going to support it with tournaments somehow. I'm not exactly sure what that means, and these decks here are a little bit different than the ones that they gave us as part of the trial at the other YCSs, because at the other YCS it was missing a couple of the variant cards, which I think are ultra rares out of here. So, oh, nice. So yeah, you can see here how they fit all 3 of them in there. This is the full deck. It's, you know, you think 20 cards, it shouldn't look this small, right? But there's no sleeves on these cards, so it's like super tiny. It almost, man, it's like really crazy looking. Yeah, this is exactly what they gave us at the other event too. We just had these little packages and stuff. You can see the variant cards there, which I'll talk about in a second. And we have the Joey one, and then we have I guess we just have the rulebook now. So the rulebook is probably on the back, it looks like. Yeah, so they don't even give you like a full rulebook. So they got the standard rules for speed dueling. Like I said, it's literally just Duel Links format. And then the playmat looks a little different because it's still the same amount of squares, but instead of another zone right here, because there's only 3 zones in this format, you have just a blank spot on that side and a blank spot on that side. So that's kind of funny. I'd imagine people would just use regular mats because paper mats kind of suck. I hope that at the YCS, one of the prizes for the speed dueling side event, I mean, I'm sure they'll do a speed dueling side event. We just don't know what format it'll be. If it'll just be like, oh, you get one of these, or if you can build your deck. But I really hope that they give like rubber playmats out with these 3 zones. I think that'd be kind of cool. So the difference here between what we got at the YCS and what you're getting now is this promo pack. The promo pack has 3 cards in it. Both of the starter decks come with this. They're cards that are supposed to help out each of the decks. And there's a couple cool things to note here. So first off, we have Champions Vigilance. Now the Blue Eyes deck that a lot of people were playing at the side event there, and what is one of the best decks of the format, is good because it's like an OTK based strategy. I'm not sure if this card will be played in it, maybe like 1 or 2 copies. This card seems really good for speed dueling. I mean, just compared to the other cards in this, this is kind of like the format when Duel Links first came out. You have a lot of old school cards, you have a lot of not powerful cards, not a lot of defense, not a lot of negation, so this card might be a little good. And you can kind of see there, so I haven't seen any holographic speed dueling cards because all the cards in the starter decks are common. But it's pretty crazy looking. You got the little speed duel sign or signature there, which is kind of cool. And what I'm excited about, oh, not this one, but we have Fusion Gate because Joey's deck is Fusion deck. But what I'm excited about, we have this nice ultra rare copy of Amazoness Village, which this card in the TCG is only printed in common and rare. And I've been playing some Amazoness in TCG. This might actually encourage me to update that deck just because the ultra rare looks oh so nice. It's really good looking. So those are the new cards. These 2 are probably good. I mean, all 3 of these cards are pretty good relative to the power level of the other things in speed dueling. It's just that the Amazoness deck and the Blue Eyes deck are so powerful compared to everything else, so I think that Village will make a huge difference. And you can kind of imagine Village in like Duel Links would be crazy as well. So we'll just kind of put those off to the side and then go through here. So we'll go through these decks in order of how good I think they are. So the best one, at least most people can agree upon, is the Amazoness / Harpy deck. Oh, they have these little pull tabs. That's interesting. And if you haven't seen these before, because if you remember, I did a video on these, but in that video, I wasn't able to actually bring any cards home because they were Konami's or whatever. They were still in testing. But you have this situation here. So these are these skill cards. They are double-sided. They didn't really add... I thought they were going to like add stuff to the background because it's just kind of black. But the main skill that we're looking at, what do we got here? So this one says you may look at the top card of your deck at any time. And then this one is like adding stuff to your hand. But this is a skill. Tribal Synergy. This is... I believe this is the best skill in the game. The Blue Eyes one's pretty good as well. But this is a +3. It is crazy. So it has 2 different effects. You can use both of them once per duel. If you have an Amazoness monster and a Harpy monster in your hand, reveal them and draw 1 card. So that's a free Upstart Goblin. And then if you control an Amazoness monster and a Harpy monster, draw 2 cards. So you can't use them both in the same turn, but you can use each of them once per duel, which is insane. This card is so crazy. That is a +3. That is literally better than Pot of Greed if you can resolve both of those effects. And it is really easy to trigger. There's Bird Face in this game, which is kind of cool. So you got lots of ways to get the Harpy cards, lots of Amazoness cards. Man, this card, this skill is so powerful. It wouldn't be good in Duel Links, which is kind of interesting because this format isn't really like the modern Duel Links that we're thinking of. You wouldn't play an Amazoness Harpy deck in Duel Links these days, but in this format where there's not a lot of cards, it is ridiculous. And maybe we can do, if there's interest for this, we could do like a video showcasing like the best build if you actually bought like 3 of these starter decks. So the cards we're looking at: Harpy Lady 1, Harpy Lady 2, Harpy Lady 3, Harpy Lady Sisters, Amazoness Chainmaster, very good card, Amazoness Swordswoman, very good card. Honestly, all these Amazoness cards, Sage, Swordswoman, and Chainmaster, are very powerful in this format. I'm a big fan of these 2, but you might even play 1 Sage. We have the Bird Face, which adds a Harpy Lady to your hand. Pretty cool card. I don't know. I've seen some people suggesting that you play Harpy Lady Sisters. Personally, I'm not sure if that's actually correct, but it's interesting. Sonic Shooter, which is actually pretty decent, doing 1,300 to your opponent in this particular format because only 4,000 life points. You have Elegant Egotist, which is pretty good. I think that you would play, even if you just played Harpy Lady 1 and no Harpy Lady Sisters, I think you'd still play this card as a 1 or a 2 of, just to push damage out. You have Triangle Spark, Cyber Shield, Harpy's Hunting Ground, pretty good card. Obviously, though, Village is better. Then you have, this is the most important card in this entire deck by far. So Amazoness Heirloom is in Duel Links. It is not very good in Duel Links. People do not play this card, but in this format, because there is way less spot removal than Duel Links, which is crazy because Duel Links has way less spot removal than TCG, this card is ridiculous. Staple 3 of, and is one of the biggest reasons that this deck is good. So it says equip only to an Amazoness monster. Once per turn, that monster cannot be destroyed by battle. After damage calculation, if the equipped monster attacks a monster, destroy the attacked monster. So this card is ridiculous. This is the reason you're playing this deck alongside the skill, so make sure you play 3 of those. We got Amazoness Archers. We have the only defensive trap that actually doesn't suck in this entire, all 6 starter decks. Of all of them, this is the only defensive trap that isn't completely terrible and actually protects your board. So definitely a card you want to play in this deck. And also helps protect you from getting OTK'd by the Blue Eyes players. Then you have Shadow of Eyes and Wild Tornado. Wild Tornado isn't that good, but basically, when you're looking to build this deck, you're looking at 3 ofs of like Wingstorm, maybe, Heirloom for sure, and then Elegant Egotist, maybe 1 or 2 of. Then you're looking at the Amazoness cards and Harpy Lady 1 for the most part. Maybe Harpy Lady 3 is interesting to play as well, just in case. But overall, you're just looking at it. This deck, if you want to play the My Valentine strategy with these Amazoness and Harpy cards with that insane skill, you definitely want to be playing a more control strategy. So if you like that kind of thing, if you like control decks in the TCG, that's going to be the deck for you. If you like OTKing your opponent, if they don't happen to know the format and understand that they have to play a bunch of defensive cards, you will want to play the Kaiba deck because the guys that were playing this, so the Kaiba deck, how do I explain this? This is kind of like the, when Duel Links first came out, they had water and they had dinosaurs. Very early decks for the Duel Links format, and the dinosaur deck was super consistent, just had a bunch of level 4 beaters in there, and the water deck could go big or it could go home. It either OTK'd your opponent or it didn't have any plays because it bricked. That's what this deck is. So the skill that we're looking at here, I guess you can look at these. We have Peak Performance, which is just activating Mountain at the start of the duel. We have Beatdown, which is exactly like it is in Duel Links, and then we have Dragon Caller. This is the skill. This is the big skill that just crushed everyone in most of the side events. And if you are looking, like I said, if you're playing in a tournament where they don't give you access to your own cards, where you have to play with just one deck out of the gate, the Kaiba skill, this Dragon Caller skill will win you pretty much every single game that you resolve it. So it says, sorry. We'll take a look here. It says, once per turn, you can use one of the following skills. If you successfully normal summon a Lord of D, add the Flute of Summoning Dragon to your hand, or from your deck, or give it to your hand, and then reveal, or you can reveal one Flute of Summoning Dragon from your hand, then add one Lord of D from your deck or graveyard to your hand. So basically, if you open Lord of D or Flute of Summoning Dragon, you get the other one to your hand, you can immediately activate it. That is way too good for this format because if you notice there, the only defensive card that really is played, the only offensive card that people have access to is Wingstorm. And this card doesn't actually deal with the monsters. The reason it's good in this deck is because you can use Amazon's Heirloom to then break their board. But for a lot of decks out there, they don't have ways of actually dealing with the cards. You don't even have things like Wall of Disruption, which is in Duel Links and very powerful. So a lot of times you just activate this card, summon 2 big dragon monsters, and your opponent just loses the game right there. Very oftentimes, your opponent is just like normal summoning a monster and passing. Maybe they have one back row, but the back row doesn't really matter. So if you can activate Dragon Caller, you get like Blue Eyes, you get like Luster Dragon #2, and then your opponent just doesn't have enough cards to actually deal with that, and there's only 4,000 life points, so just OTKs right away. So that skill is like super degenerate, but it's whatever. And so for the deck, we have Blue Eyes. So this deck overall, if you don't, so you have there's 3 copies total of Lord of D / Flute of Summoning Dragon, so you have a 50% chance of opening them, and that's a pretty big deal. But so obviously when you play with your own cards, you'd have a much higher chance because you play 3 of both of them probably. But then the Amazon's deck has access to extra copies of Heirloom and Wingstorm, so it kind of balances out. But the deck, you're looking at Blue Eyes, you're looking at Battle Oxes, not really a lot of effect monsters here. Ryokushin Powered, Luster Dragon #2. Got the 2 Lord of Ds, you got some other dragon cards. This card's crazy, shouldn't be in here. So you're just looking at like a beatdown deck. That's like the whole point. That's what you expect out of Kaiba. It's not really a controlling strategy. It's just like you win on the first turn or you probably don't win. And it certainly has a higher chance to brick. One of the selling points of the deck though is Stamping Destruction. Not a lot of backer removal in this. It's actually good, so Stamping Destruction is pretty good. But when we look at these cards, like these cards aren't that good. The whole reason you're playing this deck is just for the Flute of Summoning Dragon combo, which sounds silly saying it aloud, but that's kind of why you're playing that deck. So when you look on paper, I thought when I first played this format, I thought that the Amazon's deck was just by far like the best deck, but I didn't really understand how powerful it was just summoning like Blue Eyes from your hand for free. So these are the 2 decks that you want to play if you're playing this format. We'll take a look at the Joey deck as well. The big advantage of the Joey deck is that it has the most access to special summoning because it has all these fusion cards in here, which is kind of interesting. I think it's probably just better not to fusion summon because just like in Duel Links, you're looking at 4-card opening hands, which is not the same as 5 and not the same as 6. So we have Grit, Last Gamble, and Pell Omine Zenation. I didn't even see this one. During your turn, you may reveal one normal monster in your hand. This turn, that monster can substitute for any one fusion. So it just turns everything into King of Swamp. Interesting. And then Grit and Last Gambler are both in Dueling, so you guys are probably familiar with those. And then we'll take a look at the deck here. So you have Red Eyes Speed Dragon, Meteor Dragon, Flame Manipulator. like what is this? These are cards that are added just because they make Flame Wingman, but they're so bad. Alligator Sword, Baby Dragon, Time Wizard if you want to gamble a little bit, Little Windguard, Copycat, which is a pretty cool piece of monster removal. You might actually just tech this card into your deck if you play Amazon. It's just as like a piece of spot removal if you don't draw the Heirloom. We have Gear Freed. We got 2 Polymerizations, Stray Lambs, which is kind of weird because there's not like a lot of cards you tribute with those. Legendary Sword, Sojin, Dice Foon. It's a pretty decent form of back removal. If Amazoness does, I mean, no one's going to play this format, right? But if this format somehow becomes competitive and you're really looking to like beat the metagame, this card might actually be good enough. I know it sounds crazy, but it is. There's not a lot of back removal in this game, and this one most of the time will hit some back row. Just like what is it? 2/3 of the time it'll actually destroy a back row. Sometimes it'll destroy 3 back row. Other cards in here: Kunai with Chain, Red Eyes Spirit, and then the fusion monsters, Flame Swordsman, Thousand Dragon, and Alligator Sword Dragon. It's cool that you have access to these fusion cards. It's just that, like, does he even have effect? I guess he has some effect monsters, but for the most part, you're just looking at normal monsters, kind of like the Kaiba deck, except your normal monsters have like 1,000 attack, where the Kaiba ones at least have like 1,600, which is a little bit more workable if you don't draw your combo pieces. But yeah, that is my first introduction to the speed dueling. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. I think this format is cool. Duel, as I said in the video where I first played it, I feel like Konami's in like a weird spot because who's really going to go out and like buy packs for this and enter side events? There'd have to actually be like a main event for speed dueling, which I think a lot of people would be pissed about if they made a YCS just with speed dueling, but it needs some kind of competitive push. Otherwise, people are just being playing with just starter decks, and it doesn't really develop as a competitive sort of format. And if it's not a competitive format, that's perfectly fine, except then people don't really have any encouragement, any reason to really buy extra packs and put money into it if they're not getting that money back by winning those side events. But let me know what you guys think about this format. I will see you later. Goodbye.